Most advice on wood in-wall construction doesn't cover what actually matters. This is wood framing used to finish a hoop house kit. It is not structural, not load-bearing, and the goal is doors, airflow, plastic termination, and durability without restricting the hoop frame. Before we get into parts or framing logic, drop a comment on what you plan to do with your end walls. Double door, single door, barn door, are you going to have vents? Let us know, and if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. You'll just need common tools like tape measures, squares, levels, circular or miter saws, drill, and wrenches for carriage bolts. So when it comes down to materials, we're going to start with the base plate, the foundation of the wall itself. And I chose to use a pressure-treated lumber here. This is not complete ground contact with where we're growing. If you don't want to use pressure-treated on your farm, you can take a look at cypress, redwood, or even cedar. Just know that it's a softer wood and you might have trouble later on. Pressure-treated pine is a good in-between, especially if you're not growing right directly here. The vertical studs give you your shape and support the wall itself. Over doors and windows, you're going to want to put a header with jack studs and a king stud that goes all the way to the top. And the heavy dutiness of it is really going to match the size of your door, how heavy it is, or things like that. And we went ahead and put a long header on ours because I may choose to put a window in here. This also gives us a place to run lock channel all the way around the door and up on the verticals to go ahead and help us tighten the plastic. And we'll get into that later. Now, one thing to always keep in mind is that the lock channel is meant to have the plastic terminate or end on the outside of the frame. And so we are going to put lock channel here to help keep this plastic super tight, but the frame itself is actually going to hold the last piece of plastic and the spring wire in the lock channel. So as that plastic transfers to the end and comes around and gets sealed up here, that means that all the wind pressure and everything like that is not able to get in right here. So all of that solves the most basic of situations for your end wall. Let's take a look at some of the options. We went ahead and put in a diagonal brace to help with the raking and the racking of the hoop house itself. This wall is going to take the most abuse here on this farm because we have a southern prevailing wind. And so I wanted to make that as strong as possible. So we just notched it and ran it across. A lot of times you'll use people do something like put sheathings like a chipboard or a plywood up. Please don't do that because chipboard and plywood are not meant for outdoor exposure. That means that over time, especially the chipboard, is going to have a tendency to delaminate and really make a mess. And we also used a splice block to connect the bottom portion where we had a little seam. This is also 20 foot wide. If you have something bigger or you have a lot of wind pressure, you also might want to consider putting in some blocking. This is not structural at all. It just gives you another place to run a lock channel and help tighten down the plastic. Doors are one of the most common failure points on hoop houses and end wall, mostly because people use the wrong kind or underestimate how much movement or wind they see or use they will have. Interior, hollow core, and masonite doors do not belong here. They aren't built for moisture or flex and they fail fast. Exterior doors work well and storm doors can work too, but they usually need heavier hinges or closures because hoop houses will move more than a house ever will. Because of where this hoop house is located and the traffic I plan to do in it, this storm door is going to work fine. It did come with its own internal frame, but we did have to make this wood frame to support that frame that the door came in. That also ties into the header that supports the full weight of this opening. Again, I wanted to leave this open in case I ever wanted to put a window in here later on. And that brings us to the differences between a wood frame house and a wood frame end wall on a hoop house. So here's what's the same. Doors still need openings and headers, and exterior fasteners and moisture awareness matters a lot. In a home, there is a lot of load-bearing walls. In a hoop house, that's not the case. All of your load-bearing needs to and does come from the frame itself, going into the ground post to evenly distribute any wind or snow load from the frame to the ground. The hoop house end wall exists to hold the door, hold any vents or windows, and to block air from moving in and out of the hoop house. Now, a lot of times we see a hoop house end wall not really connected to the ground. We have 3 foot by 1/2 inch rebar pins sticking in between the spaces to help hold that down. You could do that a number of different ways. We're in 100% clay. This way is going to work really good for us. Houses are designed to be rigid. Hoop houses are designed to flex. Fasteners that are over tightened or holes that are too tight can quickly turn a flexible connection into a stress point. This is especially true if you're running water lines or electricity lines through and it's all very tied in. Whenever this hoop house is moving about in the wind, that could be a failure point. Could cause an electrical issue, could cause a water issue, so make sure to keep anything that you move through the end wall itself a little loose. House walls rely on full sheathing for strength. Remember, we replace sheathing with a piece of pressure-treated diagonal lumber here. This approach keeps the wall square while still allowing the hoop frame to move independently under wind and temperature changes. OSB can swell and lose strength with repeated moisture exposure. CDX plywood uses exterior glue and rough faces, and BC plywood looks cleaner but may not use exterior rated adhesive. In greenhouse environments, adhesive ratings matter more than appearance. But I can universally promise that over time, any plywood, especially chipboard or OSB, is going to delaminate and cause you a lot of problems. You're best off just going ahead and doing wood, doing the lock channel, and putting greenhouse plastic up. Houses are sealed and insulated. Hoop houses are about egress, airflow from vents up above, and holding the plastic on to prevent that air transfer. So with that being said, having something to attach lock channel to attach the plastic to, is the main reason for these supports. And that's not to say that this doesn't need to be built strong. And for instance, we are about every 2 foot. We do see people that leave large spaces on either side of the door, and that's just a giant sail. So the more support you have, the better. And tying it to a sill plate, which is then tied to the ground via a rebar pin, is basically like transferring that load just like you would on the side down to the hoop house. Here's what we're taking away from traditional carpentry and what we're leaving behind to adapt to hoop houses. What to take? Proper load transfer around doors, squareness and level, and exterior fasteners and moisture awareness. And then checking your alignment before final fastening. What we did not take from traditional carpentry: load-bearing wall assumptions, rigid fastening, and a permanent building mindset, and that heavier equals stronger thinking. Most overbuilt end walls come from fear, habit, or house framing muscle memory, not from actual performance problems in a hoop house. Let's talk about some common DIY end wall mistakes. Do not use untreated lumber where it stays damp or where we're in contact with the ground. Do not use drywall screws outside. I know they're cheap, but that real thin kind of machine thread in there doesn't grip and hold and bite that wood. Use a good wood screw, or do what we did and use a deck screw. Do not sheath your hoop house with OSB or plywood. Do not block airflow in an active greenhouse. That includes the winter, whenever that moisture humidity builds up inside of a hoop house and really can start causing some dampening off issues and mold and fungal issues inside of your hoop house. You still have to vent with vents in the wintertime. Do not staple plastic directly to the wood. Back in the day, people would use board and battens, and it's still being used today, and it's pretty common, but that's why lock channel was invented. It's such a game changer, and it makes such a difference that using any board and batten situation means that you're constantly putting even small holes in plastic that can eventually wear down with the movement of the end wall and the plastic. And so why not use something that doesn't put holes in the plastic that you can adjust over time instead of just constantly replacing the end wall year over year. Do not let plastic rub raw edges. And so what I mean by that is every single space that we have on the outside to attach lock channel, we're going to do, and we're going to secure it so it doesn't move around with that lock channel and spring wire. If we were to put plastic directly on wood without lock channel to kind of help keep it tight, we would have these little abrasion marks over time every time the wind blows, which is all the time, and it would eventually wear out that piece of plastic right there, look unsightly, and then eventually cause a hole. Do not skip proper door headers. You need something to transfer this weight and this span over your doors. So when you're building your hoop house end wall, you're going to start off with your plates, proper spacing of your verticals and your headers, and you're going to tie them to the top of the hoops to give yourself a place to tie in the plastic. But it's not meant to be load bearing. It needs to flex just like the rest of the hoop house. If you build it rigid, you're going to start seeing issues with your corners, and you're going to get stuck in or out as your door gets stuck, or you won't be able to close it. And those little things add up because, hey, I'm gonna fix this tomorrow or the next day, usually turns into a month. Next thing you know, you got armadillos in your hoop house. And we'll end with wood construction isn't a fixed recipe. And that's especially true with hoop houses. Two people can build end walls that look different and both be right, because a job isn't about copying a pattern, it's about solving the problem in front of you, at your place. With hoop houses, there isn't one perfect way to do it, just choices that respect how the structure works, and don't ask a wood end wall to do a job the frame was already designed to handle. I wanted to clear up a lot of the misconceptions and mistakes I constantly see when I visit other farms, the plywood, the wrong fasteners, things like that, and the assumption that an overbuilt end wall is the very best thing to do. We need to build an end wall that serves the function of the hoop house. Remember, it's going to be your hoop house at your farm, so it's your responsibility to build a frame that's going to work best for you, that's strong, but still doesn't break the budget with unnecessary options. We'll see you in the next video.